Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello and welcome friends. This is the 10th lecture in this course Political Parties and Party System in India, and in this lecture today we are going to discuss Janata Parivar, or the parties that belong to the larger conglomerate of different ideological forces which formed the government, or the first non-Congress government at the center after the emergency in 1977. So, we are going to discuss in this lecture the historical context of its formation, the ideology that sustained these parties, basically the Lohia and Jai Prakash Narayan, their ideas of Saptakranti and Sampurna Kranti. We will also discuss the leaderships, contributions and the major challenges of the parties that belongs to Janata Parivar, such as Janata Dal Secular, Janata Dal United, Rashtriya Janata Dal and Samajwadi Party. So, all these parties derive their ideology or inspiration from the socialist politics or the socialist philosophy, particularly of Lohiites and Jai Prakash brand. However, in the contemporary politics, they are engaged in more sectarian or identity based kind of politics, which limits, which restrict the scope of socialist politics that emerged in Indian politics in 1950s, 60s and even the first few decades before the political independence. So, in this lecture we are going to discuss some of the challenges or the limitation that the parties belonging to Janata Parivar faces in contemporary politics. To begin with, the rise of Janata Party in Indian politics was a result of the disillusionment with the Nehruvian consensus on the one hand and coming together of quota politics and Kisan politics of late 60s and early 70s. Let me explain here what was the Nehruvian consensus and what was the disillusionment with such consensus. So, immediately the first 2 decades after the independence, if you recall, Congress party under the leadership of Prime Minister Nehru and provided a kind of a strong leadership or dominated the party system both at the national and the center level. And Nehruvian politics of secularism combined with planned development or the socialist restructure of the society was provided a kind of consensus at the national level, and different groups, different communities, different region believed in this nationalist consensus. But after the death of Nehru and certainly India-China war, there was the gradual disillusionment with that politics, particularly Lohia and many socialist parties in late 50s and early 60s began to mobilize the communities and groups, particularly in the rural India, by demanding greater representation or participation of say intermediary castes in the name of quota politics. So, Lohia demand for 100 में 60, 60 out of 100 should be given to these intermediary backward classes. And also the rise of Kisan politics or the peasant politics in 1960s, especially under the leadership of Chaudhary Charan Singh. So the Janta experiment of 1970s was in that sense culmination of all these factors. One was the larger disillusionment with the Congress, particularly its autocratic rule during the emergency, and the coming together of the quota politics and the Kisan politics of late 60s and early 70s. In Indian politics, the Janta Parivar or Janta experiment is regarded as a bold experiment which tried to bring the rural voices, peasants and intermediary castes in the mainstream political process. So, if you recall, the politics of Nehruvian consensus was largely a state driven elitist approach of lawyers or industrial horses, and they dominated the political discourse in 50s and 60s. However, since 60s and early 70s, there was the assertion of those who are from the rural India, or basically those who are intermediary classes or caste, unlike the domination of upper caste in the early decades. These decades allow the rural voices to emerge, a kind of control or greater participation of the peasants in the decision making or the policy formulation. And after this experiment, the role of intermediary castes or the OBC has been phenomenal in Indian politics, and gradually many nationalist parties like Congress or the BJP or even left began to represent the voices from these sections. Particularly, they conceded more seats or more representation to these intermediary castes or the OBCs. So, Janta experiment was a very bold experiment in Indian politics. Ideologically, these parties were rooted in the socialism of Lohiite and J.P. Brand, and few minutes from now we will discuss how Lohia and Jayaprakash played a crucial role in the growth of socialist or Janta parties in 60s and 70s, and provided the philosophical foundation in Sapt Kranti or the notion of Sampurn Kranti as in Jayaprakash, and Sapt Kranti in Lohia, a kind of guiding spirit for many Janta parties to follow. In fact, Jayaprakash Narayan played a very significant role in the formation of Janta party. So, very formation of Janta party, which is coming together of the different ideological forces in Indian politics, was possible only under the leadership of Jayaprakash Narayan. However, Ram Manohar Lohia had already prepared the ground for such politics to emerge in 70s, and he has also groomed many leaders who went on to play a very significant role in Janta experiment. So, the formation of Janta party, the role of JP was very important. However, the very ground for such formation was made possible by the politics of Ram Manohar Lohia in early decades. So, thus the ideology and politics of Jayaprakash and Lohia became the guiding spirit for the Janta party, and many of the leaders in Janta party continue to show their allegiance to these socialist leaders. So, in many of their policies, programs, or in their electoral manifesto, you will find reflection of the policies and philosophy of these socialist leaders. However, Janata experiments soon turned into caste-based identity politics. So, that was the biggest drawback or the reason for the decline of such a bold experiment in Indian politics. It soon turned into the caste-based identity politics and opportunistic behaviors of its leaders. So, most of the leaders in the Janata Parivar were more concerned about their personal ambitions or securing their own position rather than the ideology of socialism or radical restructuring of the society or giving more voice to the Kisan or the quota politics. Because of this caste based identity politics and the opportunistic behavior of its leader, Janata Party gradually declined, and the larger objectives and ideals of socialism were soon forgotten. This led to many splits and merger and the gradual decline of the Janata Party. So, from a position when it first formed a non-Congress government at the center in 1977 and continue to play a very critical role in the formation of many state governments, and also at the center in 1989 and again in 1996, the position of Janata parties gradually declined at the national level, but in many states or at the regional level you find some of the groups or some of the parties belonging to the larger Janata Parivar continue to play a very prominent role. However, the larger objectives and the ideals that were the guiding force for these parties are by and large forgotten, and they do not in contemporary politics provide a viable alternative to the Congress or the BJP. In fact, many of these parties align with the Congress and BJP led coalition such as National Democratic Alliance or UPA. That is the gradual decline of Janata parties. If you look at the formation of Janata Party, it was a result of the immediate cause of its formation was the excesses of Indira Gandhi government during the emergency. So, the emergency and the excesses committed by Indira Gandhi government during the emergency was the immediate reason for the formation of Janata Party at the center. It antagonized many the emergency antagonized many sections of Indian society and helped these ideological opposite groups to come together, and these ideological opposite groups were united only in their opposition to Indira Gandhi. So, the groups such as Bharatiya Janasangh, largely guided by the philosophy of Hindu nationalism or Hindutva, or Bharatiya Lok Dal of Chaudhary Charan Singh, committed to peasant politics or uplifting or emancipating or giving more voice to the peasants in Indian political process. The Congress O of Morarji Desai and Socialist Party had very little in common to hold them together as a cohesive unit. And internal squabbling started immediately after the formation of government in 1977, and it collapsed in 1980s. And these ideological differences among the socialists and the peasants on the one hand, and Congress and Bharatiya Janasangh on the other hand, led to infighting and gradual collapse of Janata Party government in 1980s. And these groups of Janata Party splintered into many regional and state parties, and notable among them are Rashtriya Janata Dal in Bihar, Samajwadi Party in UP, Biju Janata Dal in Orissa, Janata Dal Secular and Lok Shakti Party in Karnataka, Gujarat Janata Dal, and so on. And there are similarly many other smaller splinter groups out of Janata Parivar. Many of these Janata parties continue to dominate the politics of many states, such as in Bihar, in Karnataka, in Odisha, in UP, and also for a brief period in Gujarat. So, it also played a decisive role in the formation of national government in 1989 and again in 1986. However, they are less likely to provide a viable alternative to BJP and Congress. From the very beginning, it was a loose confederation of rural, middle class, peasant parties, and these rural, middle class, peasant parties and their leadership had their own ambition, their own ideals, rather than a well organized structure of the party to ensure better coordination among different factions. And this organizational weakness was perhaps the biggest reason for the Janata Parivar or Janata Party to collapse, and it was not able to provide a stable government or a viable alternative to the national parties such as Congress. The ideology of Janata Parivar was rooted in Ram Manohar Lohia's idea of Sapt Kranti and Jayaprakash Narayan idea of Sampurna Kranti. Janata Party and its splinter groups traced their ideological lineage in the politics and philosophy of two stalwarts of Gandhian and socialist politics in India, that is Lohia and Jayaprakash, and both of them had played critical roles in the formation of socialist politics in India since 1940s, when they were part of the Congress Party as the Congress Socialist Party, and more importantly in the decades of 1950s and 60s, they prepared the ground for the mobilization of the rural masses or intermediary castes committed to the radical restructuring of power relationship in the society. And the Janata experiment or Janata Party was culmination of those politics that was practiced by these two leaders. Social equality and social justice were the cardinal principle of Lohia's politics and philosophy, and to achieve that he argued that socialism was the only way forward. So, one correlation that you find in these parties, except its factional groups such as Bharatiya Janasangh, they remain committed to the socialist ideals or the socialist restructuring of the society. So, the cause of socialism and the social justice remain the unifying factor for all these parties in Janata Parivar. Lohia argued for a distinct and innovative conceptualization of socialism, which was very distinct or independent from both communism and capitalism. So, Lohia was trying to develop a very distinct or innovative conceptualization of socialism, which would avoid the ideological extremes of left and also the right, that is the free market capitalist economy and the state controlled economy of communism. In this connection, his presidential speech at Socialist Party Convention in 1952 at Panchmadi on the doctrinal foundation of socialism is regarded as the one of the finest political speech in post-independent India. And in this speech, he criticized the prevailing ideological confusions in Socialist Party And if you recall, when we were discussing about the rise of BJP, prior to that in Indian politics, you see there are many parties, communist, socialist and the Congress party, except the Bharatiya Jan Sangh and Swatantrata party, which were pro-market or conservative Hindu nationalist. The dominant discourse in Indian politics was towards left of the center. After the rise of BJP, there is a kind of right of the center shift in Indian political discourse. Within that shift, Lohia was trying to argue for a distinct or innovative conceptualization of socialism, which he outlined in his Panchmadhi speech as a president of Socialist Party convention in 1952, where he criticized the prevailing ideological confusions in the Socialist Party that was oscillating between Nehruvian Congress, as Nehru also argued for the socialist restructuring of the society as one of the objective of the Congress party, and the communism, which was also trying to mobilize the rural masses, poor, excluded and marginal sections of Indian society. So, from this kind of ideological confusion, Lohia was trying to rescue the socialist party to develop their own distinct approach or objective in politics. So, he charted out a new and independent vision of socialism in India by bringing the nationalism or Gandhian modes of politics together. He was also very critical of democratic socialism and asserted that socialism stood for a distinct idea that needed no prefix or suffix. So, socialism in itself has its own understanding or views on politics or the policies or to radically restructuring the society, which does not require any prefixes or suffixes from democratic or social or communist kind of philosophy. To realize his dream of socialism, Lohia argued for a Sapt Kranti or 7 revolution, which was A, for equality between men and women, B, against political, economic and spiritual inequality based on color or race. That is very important, where it is not just about political and legal equality, but also about economic and spiritual equality without any discrimination on the basis of either color or race. C, for the destruction of the caste. For Lohia, to achieve socialism or to have proper or true democracy, one need to annihilate or destroy the caste. So, the caste was destruction of the caste was one of the founding principle in his idea of Sapt Kranti. D, against foreign domination and democratic world government. So, he was also against any kind of foreign interference in the domestic matters or also democratic world government. And finally, E, for economic equality, planned production and against private property. F, against interference in private life or and for democratic method. And finally, he was against arms and weapons and for satyagraha. So, these 7 objective was the constitutive factors in his idea of Sapt Kranti, which influenced many socialist leaders in 1970s and 60s and also in the 80s and 90s. Jayaprakash Narayan, on the other hand, so Lohia and his philosophy of Saptakranti was the basis for socialist politics of many of the Janata Party's constituent. JP, on the other hand, was someone who led the agitation of opposition parties or students movement against the autocratic or undemocratic rule of Indira Gandhi. He had a very idealistic view of politics, and his commitment to such ideals led him to shift his allegiance from Marxism to socialism and later towards Gandhian Sarvodaya. So, in Jayaprakash Narayan, we have a idealist, a visionary leader or a statesman who was committed to the ideals which allow him to see politics as a tool for restructuring society. And in this search of restructuring society, he constantly shifted from Marxism to socialism to Gandhian Sarvodaya, to which he remained committed in till the end of his life. After his difference from many socialist colleagues, he withdrew from active politics, devoting himself to the peaceful regeneration of society. So, before Jayaprakash Narayan taking active leadership in the student or opposition party agitation against the emergency regime of Indira Gandhi, he withdrew himself from the active politics, devoting to the Gandhian principle of regenerating society in a peaceful manner. However, he lent his voice and leadership to counter the growing degenerations in society and politics in 1970s. So, if you remember or you watch any Bollywood movies of 1960s, late 1960s and early 70s, there was a multiple factors like hoardings, black money, blackmailing, degeneration of law and order, unemployment, and so on. So, or the excesses of the government and its institution led to a large scale degeneration in society and politics, and to counter that, JP joined the active politics and gave the clarion call of total revolution, which means Sampurn Kranti. And this total revolution or Sampurn Kranti was the combination of 7 revolutions, which was political, social, economic, cultural, ideological and intellectual, educational and spiritual. So, he was arguing for a politics which will enable this all around transformation in society, in the realm of politics, in the realm of social structure among or between communities, economic life, cultural and ideological and intellectual life of the citizens, their education and spiritual search. So, the vision of Sampurn Kranti or total revolution was to radically restructure the society from it to remove or to counter the degeneration that it underwent during these decades. The guiding principle behind the total revolution was the Gandhian philosophy of Sarvodaya. That is something which was the guiding philosophy for JP as well as Lohia conceptualization of Indian socialism as a distinct and innovative way, distinct from the capitalism and the communism of the West. JP was instrumental in bringing together the ideological different factions of Janata Party, and his leadership played an important role in Janata Party's victory after emergency. After the formation of first non-Congress government, JP was hopeful that there would be change in socio-economic and political situation in India, However, most of its leaders, due to their ambitions and corrupting influence of power, indulged in infighting, and country slipped again into the old politics of rivalry, corruption and factionalism. So, although the philosophy of Lohia and JP was the guiding light during this Janata Party experiment, and in the decades of 80s and 90s, there was the hope that it will provide a credible alternative to the Congress. However, because of the personal ambition or the corrupting influence of the power, there was a disenchantment with the Janata experiment or the socialist experiment, and that lead to the rise of many new parties or new political formulation, most notably the rise of the BJP. Now, if we so these are the philosophy of Lohia and JP, which had guiding influence on the parties belonging to Janata Parivar. If we look at its formation in 1977, and we discuss the role or contribution of Janata parties in three phases. In the first phase between 1977 and 1980s, we will discuss how different parties came together and provided a non-Congress government, what were the policies, who were the leaders. Then we will discuss 1980s to 89, and then since 1990s. So, we will discuss the role and contribution of different Janata parties in Indian politics by dividing them into three phases from 1977 to 1980s, then 1980s to 1989, and since 1990, before we discuss the challenges or the many critique associated with the Janata Party in India. Janata Party government in 1977 and 80 was a sense of relief and wide appreciation in early 1977 after the formation of first non-Congress Janata Party government at the center 3 decades after independence. So, it was a kind of celebration of democracy which enabled first non-Congress government at the center after 3 decades of political independence. The formation of Janata Party was the result of as we have discussed the ideologically different parties such as Bharatiya Lok Dal, and Bharatiya Lok Dal was itself formed in 1974 with the merger of Bharatiya Kisan Party of Chaudhary Charan Singh and Sanyukt Socialist Party. So, Bharatiya Lok Dal, Congress of Morarji Desai, Socialist Party and Bharatiya Jan Sangh, and a faction of Congress for Democracy, leadership of Jagjeevan Ram, came together to provide a alternative government at the center in the form of Janata Party government. Although the quota and Kisan politics, quota is for positive or reservation or reservation for the OBC, and the Kisan politics, that is the voices of the peasants, dominated the politics of Janata Party. And this was the decade when the demand from the state and the government was also growing, which led to the characterization of demand politics and command politics, what a state can provide and what was demanded from the below by the society. So, during this formation, the quota politics of the intermediary caste or the other backward caste and the Kisan politics of peasants dominated the political discourse, and Charan Singh, a towering peasant leader of Bharatiya Lok Dal, however, could not dominate this government because of the presence of Morarji Desai of Congress. Then the party was committed to maintain its live links with the village, with agriculture, with cottage and village industries, and generally with the uplift of our Kisans. So, the objective of the Janata Party was to connect the growing divide between urban and rural India by giving more space in the political process or in the policy formulation the demands or the concerns of the peasants, the OBCs, the requirement of the cottage and village industries. So, the major objective of the Janata Party in contrast to the Congress Party was not to perpetuate the status quo or give representation only to the upper caste, but bring a new voice or radical voice from the villages, from the OBCs, from the Kisans, and in the decades of 70s, 80s and 90s, the concern of these two politics, quota politics and Kisan politics, did dominate the political discourse. However, due to internal feud, it could hardly implement or formulate any of these programs, such as to uplift the village or agriculture, to improve cottage and village industries, and so on. Tensions between Bharatiya Lokdal and Socialist on the one hand and the Congress O and Bharatiya Janasangh on the other hand led to constant infighting in the Janata Party government. Charan Singh was soon expelled from the party and was re-inducted soon after as Deputy Prime Minister, after his show of strength by mobilizing 5 million peasants for a Kisan rally in Delhi in December 1978. So, the personal ambitions besides the ideological differences led to the constant infighting in Janata Party government. Morarji Desai was the Prime Minister, but Chaudhary Charan Singh, being a towering peasant leader, also wanted to become the Prime Minister, and soon after its formation began to criticize many of the decisions taken by Morarji Desai government, and therefore he was expelled from the Janata Party. But soon he was re-inducted as Deputy Prime Minister and given the portfolio of finance after his show of strength, where he mobilized 5 million peasants in a Kisan rally in Delhi in December 1978. Charan Singh soon, however, formed his own party, which is called Janata Party Secular, in June 1979, and became Prime Minister with the support of Congress party of Indira Gandhi for few months. However, after the withdrawal of Congress support, his government fell, and in 1980s, after the election, Congress party came to the power, returned to the power. So, this bold experiment thus collapsed, A, because of the ideological differences, and B, because of the personal ambitions of many of its leaders. However, the one prominent outcome of Janata experiment was the demand for the implementation of Kaka Kelkar report. Kaka Kelkar report was about giving more representation to the other backward caste, which was not implemented by the successive Congress government. And one of the demand of the Janata Party was to implement the Kaka Kelkar reports. And they also went ahead with the formation of second backward class commission under the chairmanship of Bindeswari Prasad Mandal. However, before this commission could submit its report, Janata Party collapsed, and the Congress party again did nothing about the report of this party, this commission. The major outcome of this Janata experiment was then to give more voice or more representation to the rural peasants and also the other backward caste, which we see in the later decades. This combination of quota politics and Kisan politics led to a newer formation. However, gradually it was the quota politics which began to dominate political discourse, particularly after the implementation of BP Mandal, Bindeswari Prasad Mandal Commission by VP Singh government. Now, if you look at Janata Parivar during 1980s and 89, we see constant split, merger and remerger in Janata Parivar. Chaudhary Charan Singh launched a new political party, Lok Dal, just before 1980s general election, and it aspired to establish a socialist society which is consistent with individual freedom. It also tried to combine the socialist legacy with the Kisan politics. However, due to the ambition of Charan Singh, there was a split between Socialist Party and Lok Dal on the one hand, and further Lok Dal itself splintered into many groups such as Lok Dal of Karpuri Thakur or Lok Dal of Charan Singh. Many strong leaders formed their own parties, and it was the last serious attempt to bring quota and Kisan politics together, and it was the quota politics which took over the lead and dominated the political discourse in the country in 1990s. A second Janata experiment emerged in 1989 with the rise of Janata Dal. Unlike Janata Party, Janata Dal was combination of socialist and Chaudhary Charan Singh. So, Janata Dal minus Congress O and Biju Bharatiya Janasangh had better chance of coordination or developing effective alternative to the Congress. However, this experiment also did not succeed and could not provide the stable government. As we see in 1989, within a year BP Singh government failed, and after that Chandrasekhar also became the Prime Minister for very short period before the general election was held. So, this second experiment that emerged in 1989 with the rise of Janata Dal was again brought some hope to the people, and unlike Janata Party, Janata Dal was combination of socialists and Chaudhary Charan Singh Party. So, VP Singh's Jan Morcha, VP Singh himself was a Congress leader. However, because of his anti-corruption crusade or many of his activity which was seen as anti-party activities in the Congress, he was expelled from the Congress and he formed a Jan Morcha, which joined Janata Dal later, and he played the pivotal role in the formation of National Front government and decided to implement 27% reservation for the backward classes in the bureaucracy. This decision of BP Singh government proved to be a great disruptor in Indian politics. So, if you recall the politics in 90s, the pro quota or pro reservation or anti reservation supporters and their clash, often violent clash, was the marker of Indian politics in 1980s. This was due to this decision of the VP Singh government to implement 27% reservation to give more representation to the other backward classes in the bureaucracy. Since 1990s, however, Janata Party developed a different characteristic where many of them are now based in a particular region or a particular state rather than having the national ambition. So, Janata Party failed to provide a stable government at the center, and gradually many splinter groups of the Janata Parivar became a strong regional force in many states such as Samajwadi Party in UP, Rashtriya Janata Dal and Janata Dal United in Bihar, Biju Janata Dal in Orissa, Janata Dal Secular in Karnataka. Chandrasekhar and Devilal came together to form Samajwadi Janata Party after the collapse of VP Singh government. However, it did not provide the stable government, and Devilal, a strong peasant leaders from Haryana, soon formed his own party, Indian National Lok Dal, which continued to play a dominant role in the politics of Haryana. So, Janata Dal led United Front government was formed again in 1996 with H.D. Deve Gowda becoming the Prime Minister, and this was also the phase in Indian politics where no party was getting majority on its own, and the coalition government or alliance government of different parties coming from different ideological backgrounds was the reality of that time. So, in that context, Janata Dal United Front government was formed again in 1996 with the H.D. Deve Gowda becoming the Prime Minister. However, his government fell when Congress withdrew its support within a year, less than a year. So, since then most of the splinter groups are restricted to a specific regions or states, although they continue to trace their legacy to Janata and socialist past, their appeal is restricted now to limited region. So, as I have said that SP in UP or RJD in Bihar, similarly Janata Dal Secular in Karnataka or Biju Janata Dal in Orissa, their appeal is very much limited to a particular region and also to particular social groups, mostly Yadav. So, many of these Janata Party splinter groups or parties now align either with the BJP or Congress led alliance NDA or UPA. So, many of these parties are limited also to one leader and one family with very little scope to play important role in national politics. Now, if you look at some of the critical factors of Janata Party in India, although it was a bold experiment and dominated political discourse in the country in the decades of 1980s and 90s, Janata Party suffers from many weaknesses right from the very beginning. First, it lacked ideological cohesiveness, and its organization was more like a confederation with very little or no control over the constitutive partners. So, one of the weakness of Janata Party was there was no ideological cohesiveness among its constituent fractions, and also organizationally it was more like a confederation rather than a well organized political party which could control different factions. Second, most of the leaders in the Janata Party or parties, although rooted in the philosophy of socialism, were driven by personal ambitions and political opportunism, and therefore compulsions of pragmatic politics led many of them to strengthen their regional hold with little or no national ambition. So, many of the Janata parties who continue to play a prominent role in the regional or state politics no longer have the similar ambition as they had in 1980s or 90s and 70s, and there are less likelihood of them coming together to provide a third front to the Congress and the BJP. Third, the most of these parties in the name of social justice or secularism seen actively engaged in the competitive vote bank politics of securing their support base among the particular social constituency based either on caste, mostly Yadavs, particularly in North India, or religion and or region. They sometimes often combine the caste with religion or caste with reason, or sometimes all of three, that caste, reason and religion, to retain the power. So, most of these Janata parties in states now no longer see socialism or radical restructuring of the society as their objective in the politics. Like any other parties, they are more concerned or worried about securing their support, often appealing to a particular social groups or community or a particular region, or by combining any two or all of them together. Finally, most of the splinter groups of Janata Parivar are reduced to one man or one family party. So, if you look at, for instance, RJD and JDU in Bihar, it is a party where Lalu Prasad Yadav or Nitish Kumar is seen as the face of the party, or Samajwadi Party in UP, where Mulayam Singh Yadav and Akhilesh Yadav are the prominent face of the party. Similarly, H.D. Devagowda and Kumaraswamy in Karnataka, seen as the leader of the Janata Dal Secular. So, these parties do not allow the rise of second generation of leadership outside their family and outside their clan, and they are region specific party with little ambition or no scope to expand their support base beyond their specific social constituency or stronghold. So, these parties now since 1990s try to retain their stronghold in a particular specific region rather than expanding their social support base or political alliance with other parties to play a significant role at the national level. So, and therefore, once seen as an effective alternative to Congress and BJP, these parties now are hardly present a viable alternative to them. Now, to conclude, Janata Party was a bold experiment in Indian politics, which dominated the political discourse in the country since 1970s, and more importantly in the decades of 80s and 90s. It helped in deepening of democracy by forming many non-Congress state governments after 1967 election and first non-Congress government at the center in 1977. Janata parties played very important role in the government formation at the center, although it failed to provide stable governments on its own, for instance in 1989 or in 1996. And this period was also simultaneous with uncertainties or fragmentation or the flux that was prevalent in the politics and in the organization of the government. However, they played a decisive role in the implementation of Mandal Commission report, which provided 27% reservation to the OBCs. This reservation to the OBCs earmarked a new era of democratic politics in India, which is called as second democratic upsurge by Yogendra Yadav and silent revolution by Christophe Jaferland. So, Janata parties had a very decisive role in implementing this 27% reservation or making quota politics as the central issue in the political discourse in the country. It also tried to revive the socialist politics or giving voice to the peasants or the Kisans in decision making or in the policy formulation. However, that did not quota politics succeed in Indian politics. So, it has truly made Indian democracy more representative and inclusive by giving representation to those who were unrepresented or not given adequate representation in the political process. Although in the name of OBCs, quota or socialism, most of the Janata parties represent the interest of very few intermediary castes mostly Yadavs or Kurmis. And the ideal of Ambedkar or Lohia, such as destruction of caste or annihilation of caste as in Ambedkar, or the socialist ideal of restructuring of power relations in society, have been long forgotten, particularly since 1990s, and these parties behave and act like any other parties to retain their power. So, however, the Janata experiment has forced many national parties, including the BJP and Congress and even the left parties, to give adequate representation to the OBC. And therefore, the greatest contribution of Janata parties, despite its inability to form and provide stable government at the center, is their ability to make quota politics a central plank in Indian political discourse, and also their attempt to radically restructure the society along the socialist line, and also giving voice to the Kisan politics. However, the restructuring of the society and Kisan politics did not materialize as much as perhaps the quota politics. However, this Janata party made a sincere attempt to combine the socialist politics with the quota politics and Kisan politics. So, Janata party had a very positive contribution in Indian politics, and many of them are prominent parties in states and at various regions in India. And in their policies and programs, the social justice or secularism remain a very powerful guiding force. Although many of them now try to align either with the BJP or the Congress, yet the legacy of socialism is reflected in their policies and programs. So, that is all in this lecture on Janata Parivar. You can refer to some of these texts like Joya Hassan, Parties and Party Politics in India, MP Singh and Rekha Saxena, Indian Politics, Contemporary Issues and Concern, in Rekha Divakar, Party System in India, and particularly Christoph Jefferlard, India's Silent Revolution, the Rise of Low Caste in North Indian Politics, is a comprehensive account of the Janata experiment and how it enabled the rise of OBC politics in India, particularly North India, and how it led to what he calls silent revolution. You can also refer to K.C. Suri, Parties Under Pressures, Political Parties in India Since Independence. So, these are some of the readings which you should refer to understand more about Janata Party and their contribution in Indian politics, and many of the challenges they have faced and continue to face in contemporary politics in India. So, that is all in this lecture. Thanks for listening. I hope you have liked it. Thank you.